Unmute. Okay. Am I on? Do you have me? Do you hear me?
Oh, Rabbi.
I'm being heard.
I'm just going to adjust the settings here. Give me one.
Okay. Am I on?
I think you're on. Are you able to hear us, Rabbi Wolf?
No, but I'm speaking now and I'm hearing myself later.
Should be good now.
Okay. Do you hear me right now?
Perfect. Gentlemen, ladies, good evening. Good moed once again. A warm welcome to everybody back to our Kinus Torah, running daily, morning and evening. I'd like to extend a very warm welcome to Rabbi Reuven Wolf from Los Angeles, California, where it's just late morning there. Perhaps a word or two of introduction. Many of you may be familiar, some of you not yet. Rabbi Wolf is a shliach and runs the Mayon Yisrael Center in Los Angeles, a center whose sole objective is that of Afotzas HaMayonos, spreading the teachings of Chassidus, the teachings of the Baal Shem Tov. Rabbi Wolf himself has quite a fascinating story and history on his personal journey, beginning in Ropshitz and ending all the way at Lubavitch. And Rabbi Wolf, over recent years, has increasingly been traveling to Anash communities all over the world, within the United States and Canada and far beyond, inspiring, uplifting, elevating, and ultimately connecting, ultimately reconnecting our own home base, our own home crowd with our own purpose, our own mission, our own destiny, and ultimately reconnecting us with our own goal, the world of Chassidus, and the world which Chassidus is leading us to, a world of redemption. And tonight's talk, as the title and the notice that had gone out, Rabbi Wolf will be addressing step by step toward a world forever changed. Rabbi Wolf, Shalom Aleichem, a warm welcome, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me and inviting me. And just wrapped up Shachris over here. You know, the minyan times now are very flexible when we're doing, so it's, please remind me that I didn't say my daily Tehillim yet. That's what that's where I managed to slip Aleinu, and that's where I'm holding. So after the shir, I need to go to Tehillim, and I don't want to forget because I usually do it after davening. Okay, everyone, it's great. It's great to be here with you and all the Jews in Johannesburg. I'd love to come visit one day, Ezras Hashem, and the world will all be healthy again very quickly with Mashiach, and I don't know what we will still be doing in Johannesburg, as Johannesburg will connect, at least the Jewish Johannesburg will connect to Yerushalayim, as the Jewish Los Angeles will. It will be great. In any case, so last night I had a conversation with a young man in my community who, Baruch Hashem, with big miracles, came out from the other side of the coronavirus. I mean to say, by him, it was very serious. When he checked himself into the hospital because his breathing wasn't good. And that's the last thing he remembered, was checking himself into the hospital. And Baruch Hashem, 9 days later, he was sent home. But he was on a ventilator and he was in a very, very serious condition. As he told me yesterday, the head nurse of the hospital told him that during your time, there were many times that you were much closer to the other side than back here to earth. But he told me a few fascinating things, and it gave me perspective, particularly on what I want to talk about. The first thing was that he was simply, and his wife also had sent out a message yesterday, which is, by the way, just a good thing for people. I hope that we don't have many people in Johannesburg. I haven't checked on what's going on at your end of the world. But over here in Los Angeles, there are sadly quite a few people that are going through this currently, and in New York, of course, and in Israel. And Hashem should protect everyone. But his alert, he was sending out an alert as someone who, Baruch Hashem, is back home again, that during his period of time that he was knocked out, he was on all kinds of medications and completely delirious or completely not conscious of what's going on, was that he had no idea and recollection where he was and why he ended up in the hospital. He didn't even know that he was in the hospital. He thought that he was actually locked away in some hotel. He couldn't move his body. His hands were kind of tied I don't know what they did to him exactly, but he couldn't move his body, and he was like in this other world, and he thought he couldn't figure out. He thought that someone put him away in a hotel, perhaps to try to protect him. Protect him from who? From what? I don't know where his hallucinations were going. But and he was definitely sure that he was out for at least 6 years. Imagine that. He was unconscious, or again in this on the ventilator, not even the full 9 days. But he was definitely sure that he was um, locked away for at least 6 years, and had no idea why he's there and what's going on. So his alert was, and how painful it was, because he couldn't, and he was helpless, because he told me that none of the nurses were coming in. He saw them from behind the glass thing, and they did come in, but every time they came in, it was when he was sleeping. So he actually couldn't get the attention of anybody, and he was sitting there miserable, thinking that he's stuck here forever, not knowing when he's ever going to get out of a situation. And it was extremely, extremely frightening. So his suggestion is that somehow family members, because what's ridiculous about this whole situation is that one of the things that sadly has happened is because of the contagiousness of this particular disease, those that are ill are not in contact so much with family members, because they're not letting them have visitations, because they don't want to have contact people coming. So they're in isolation. And many of them must be going through the similar situation again, having no idea where they are, what they are, thinking they've been kidnapped or taken somewhere without. This was his alert. So it's a good thing in general to put out there, that people should know that anybody that knows someone that's ill, that there should be some kind of form of communication, that they should be told at least that they're in the hospital and they have the corona, and people are working to heal them. He said someone else, another person that he spoke to after, thought he's being poisoned. He called his wife frantically. He said, "Stop, they're poisoning me." So this is very important that people should know that. But I'm looking at it from a complete different perspective. You'll see in a moment. And then when he came back um, out of this, and he told me he's finally home, he said he's like a new human being. He's like a new person, because during the time after he stopped fighting it, first he was trying to fight it. He didn't know what to do. He was trying to break free from where he is, get out of the place, thinking how is he. But when he finally made peace that this is what the Abishter did to him, obviously, again, still not knowing why he's there, and he made peace, and he said, let me do what my wife taught me to do. It's really interesting. He told me that his wife always says to him when he lost something, he used to lose his keys, and he says, ask Hashem to help you. His response to his wife was, God has, all these big things that he needs to take care of. He doesn't have to help me with my keys. But when he still wouldn't find his keys, and he would be really frustrated, and his wife would say over again, don't worry, just Hashem wants to help you. He wants you to talk to him, ask him to help you. And he would ask Hashem, please help me find my keys. And then he would find the keys. And then 2 minutes later that he found the keys, his wife would say, well, maybe now it's time that you thank Hashem for helping you find the keys. So he said, while he was laying there in this crazy situation, he decided to ask Hashem, please take me out of this situation. Please get me home. And he was pleading and pleading and pleading and pleading and mamish pleading for the sake of my wife, for the sake of my family. I need it, they need me, and so on and so forth. Somehow in the end, he got home. So he remembers that promise, and he is now telling me, as his rabbi, he's telling me the things that he's going to do to change his life. And now he appreciates everything. He appreciates that he can move his body, and he can breathe, and he can walk, and he's a whole different human being. And he came out on a different level. So what I am taking from this is, in a sense, regarding those that, thank God, did not land in the hospital, and those that are, thank God, which are most of us, where most of us are healthy, even though there's sadly so many that are suffering, and Hashem should send them a refuah. But those of us that are healthy and that are okay can perhaps realize that the situation that we're going, that's happening right now, is a transitioning period. Something is transitioning right now in our lives, where the Eibishter is transitioning right now the world, and we are in some kind of a state where all we, the Jewish people, but not only, you see, our lives have become so different in terms of our everything in our life, but even including our Jewish practice. our religious experience, our observance, it became completely different because we don't have the communal setting. Everybody's home, everybody's alone, and davening, the whole shul experience is not here for us, at least most of the Jewish people. So this has changed our entire reality. So we have to realize that this is a transitioning period. And just like in this person's life, those 9 days, which he imagined to be at least, is what he told me, minimum 6 years. I don't know why he chose that number, but maybe that's the amount of time that it says that a person can be a servant, and then afterwards, you go out to freedom. But this is a transitioning. For him, it was a transitioning state to put him more into a godlier state of existence that he plans on living, and Hashem should give him the strength and the ability to live his rest of his life in that, with that resolute and with that strong sense that he's a changed human being. He's metamorphosized. So we should also look at this period of time. For us, it's been about 3 weeks or something like that we're in this quarantine, and hopefully Mashiach is coming any second. But as they're saying, this might be another month or so and so, or 2 months. We don't even know how long. We should at least realize that this is really a transitioning period. This is perhaps we can say, a time for acclimating. That's what I really think it is. It's an acclimation towards a different form of existence. The previous rat race that we've been in, that everybody's been so occupied and so busy and so involved with all the stuff that we're involved, for better or for worse, without us choosing it, the Eibishter suspended that. God brought that to an end. And since that came to an end, means that this is transitioning. So what is the transitioning for? So I believe personally, the Eibishter is transitioning and acclimating all of us to the biggest change that's going to happen, and that is the change of the coming of Mashiach. Where at the time of living in the Messianic era, we're going to live in a complete different form of existence, when the main difference is going to be is our preoccupation. We are going to be preoccupied with other things, with other pursuits. We're going to have a complete different interest, and that's going to cause all of our obsession and everything that we're going to do is going to be with that, only in that obsession, only what we're interested at that time. And this is a chance for us to begin that transitioning. The change that we're going to learn about today, primarily in the words of the Rambam, that the occupation of the world is not going to be about anything else, only to know Hashem. That means we're going to drop all other occupation. And we might argue and say, but this is not what this is all about. This is an illness. This is a virus. We're just in quarantine to protect ourselves. Really, maybe life goes on as continued. I think that just like this person that I'm referring to told me yesterday, and again, I'm having a firsthand witness, and for some reason, I have the feeling that many of these individuals that have been intubated and put into this situation where they've and got given these heavy drugs and whatever else that's been going on, that they definitely lost all touch with where they were, and their memory was knocked out. So, and just like he lived in this make-believe world where he was sure he was kidnapped, he was sure he was being taken away. He thought it was actually his family that put him away for his own good, to protect him. I don't know what it was. That was his hallucination. But I think that just like he was living in this little bubble of a reality, and it was so real to him to the point that he was calling out to mercy. Had he only known that he's sick and he's here for 9 days, he wouldn't have been so desperate. But he literally felt that that this is not going to end. He's here for years already. He's in this prison and he can't talk to anybody. So he's living in this bubble that's really make-believe. It's his own imagination. I think we have to realize that this whole corona construct that we're all living in is also but a bubble. And there is a greater reality. There's the truth, as the Eibishter sees it, as God is really producing. And that's the reality, that the transition is really about Mashiach. That's really what's going on. It's not what we're imagining it to be, just a virus, and we're all separated just to protect ourselves. Such a massive cosmic change in the entire conduct of all of humanity, universally, the entire world together, cannot just be a little temporary change that we're doing just because of some kind of obviously, anybody believes in Hashgacha Pratis And this is not even Hashgacha Pratis. Hashgacha Pratis means specific divine providence. We're dealing with Hashgacha Klalis. We're dealing with God's relationship with his entire world, how he set the motion for the world, has to believe that the world is now changing course. The world is changing in a different direction. It's really about Mashiach. And if it's really about Mashiach, what's the transition that we should make is we should start internalizing the change. That's the idea. And I think the opportunity that's being given to us now is an incredible opportunity, because we would never have chosen to be able to detach ourselves the way we have become detached. We could not have inspired ourselves, no matter how much Hasidus we would have learned, no matter how much we would have filled ourselves with study and knowledge and determination. I don't believe we could have brought it to the degree of detachment that the circumstance has created for us, that we become like kind of the Eberster wrenched us, he pulled us, he yanked us out of our busy lives, and he put us into this, some people might look at it as a prison. Obviously, if you have 11 children in the house and you can't leave and it's a small apartment, I feel for you. I really do. I'm not chas v'shalom telling you that I, Baruch Hashem, my kids are married off. Most of them, I have 2 or 3 over here. They're older, they're Baruch Hashem helpful, but I can imagine it could be very, very challenging and very difficult. What we really should realize is that perhaps it's not a trap and it's not a prison, but the opposite. What the Eibishter is giving us now is trying to relax us, to slow us down, all of us. Slow down, let go, all the stuff that you're running and doing and making and meetings and running, and you have to catch flights and you don't have time here for not for your family and you're running. All that is gone. Sit at home, relax, and do one thing. This is what the Eibishter is now asking of us. He's saying, you see this? My books, take to the books, study, learn, because that's what you're going to be doing for all of eternity. So let's start getting used to it now. And I think it's not only to the Jewish people, this message. This is a universal message, because as we're going to see, when the Rambam says the world will be preoccupied with Torah, he doesn't say only the Jewish people. He says, Kol ha'olam kulo, the entire world. And if you would have imagined that, imagine Mashiach comes riding into town, on a donkey, and let's say he's very inspiring. He catches the attention of the whole world, and he's instructing humanity, and he's telling humanity, now is the time that we put away our toolbox. Set aside your screwdriver, your hammer, put away everything that you're doing. We're going to now embark on a new journey where mankind is going to pursue a higher pursuit of knowing God. Let go of all your preoccupations, which includes your need for your making a living, all your occupation and earning a livelihood and amassing wealth, and also your occupation with sports or all the other stuff that we've chosen to make our hobbies and our interests, and we'll drop it all because we're embarking on a new thing. Not that he might not, it's my question. I'm not questioning whether he's inspiring or convincing. He might be very convincing and he might be very inspiring, but the fact that we have so been used to, we've been so accustomed for thousands of years, for all of our history, to have the need to occupy ourselves, to be, I would just say, entrenched. Literally, mankind is entrenched in earning a living. That's how our brains are programmed. Had we not had this period of time that we're going through right now, where it's not our choice, but that Hashem made it, the circumstances have brought us to the point that all highways, there's no traffic, these busiest highways. I mean, who in the world wants to torture themselves? I don't know what goes on in Johannesburg. I'm talking about over here. Who in the world wants to torture themselves to get onto the 405 if you ever were in Los Angeles, or on the 5 freeway, or on the 101? These are the freeways over here, where you basically sit there and you don't move. And every day to drive to work, it's only, without traffic, it'll take you 35 minutes, but it takes you about an hour and 45 minutes every day. Who puts themselves through that? If not for the fact that people feel, if I don't go to work, I'm going to die. These are things I must have. I cannot be without it. I'm going to be left behind. Or I need to make money and money and money, which became so ingrained in all of our psyche that we couldn't let go of it. Now, universally, we have I would say 70, 80% let go of most of the things we've been doing. And we're at home. People are complaining that we're bored. We should not be bored. This is a transitioning state to what we're going to study today in Rambam. So what I'd like to do is right now do the Rebbe instituted that we should study Maimonides a yearly study, and those who can't do it in 1 year should do it in a 3-year cycle. And the first year that this was in the Rebbe introduced it in 1984, I think. And on Yud Aleph Nisan, on the 11th day of Nisan of 1985, is when the Rebbe, it was the first Siyum HaRambam, the first conclusion of Rambam, and the Rebbe then at that time made a hadron. A hadron means he said a piece, he explained a passage of the last piece by the Siyum, by the conclusion. He explained a passage, the last piece of the Rambam, and he explained it in a fascinating way. And I'd like to take some of the ideas. I'm not going to go through the whole thing of how the Rebbe views the days of Mashiach, and I think very pertinent to where we are right now, because if we can only look at our situation that we're in right now as an acclamation to this particular time where Hashem is helping us transition, then we will be tuning into what's really truthfully happening, and we will truly feel good in the situation that we're in right now. We will see it as a future, not as it being trapped. That's the point. We're not trapped. We're entering into a new reality, and that's the reality that we've been waiting for and longing for. Now we're actually given an opportunity to start living in that world. So let's take a look at the conclusion of Maimonides. I'm going to read it. I'm going to read the last 2 laws in chapters of Kings, chapter 12. This is the last halacha in Rambam. So it says so in the Rambam reads as follows: the wise men and the Nevi'im and the prophets did not have a longing for the days of Mashiach. It wasn't so they should have world dominance. When Mashiach will come, yes, true, the Jewish people will be the leaders of humanity. But that's not the reason why we long for the days of Mashiach, that we should have world dominion. And not that we should reign over the nations. And not that the nations should honor us. Of course, when Mashiach will come, the Jewish people's our stock will rise. The Jewish people's renown, our fame will spread over the whole world as being those who help the world reach this high state of consciousness and this utopian state. But that's not that we will finally enjoy not being oppressed anymore and the elimination of anti-Semitism. It's not because of that. Yes, all that will happen, but that's not the reason why the Jewish people have always longed. The wise men of the Jewish people have waited for Mashiach. And it's also not that we should be able to eat and drink and have a good time and rejoice, which is also going to be one of the things when Mashiach comes. Yes, food will be in abundance. And then, by the way, in the Medrash it says that we haven't even tasted the taste of food yet. It's just like when Adam and Eve ate from the tree of knowledge, all of existence was downgraded, including food. The taste of food was dramatically diminished. So one of the things that's going to happen when Mashiach is going to come, we're going to see in Rambam in a moment, is that there's going to be abundance and all delicacies are going to be available. But it means more than that. It means actually the fullest enjoyment of everything is going to be to its fullest. But yet that's not what was on the minds of the great rabbis and people when they were longing for Mashiach. The real reason, what has really been the drive and the ambition of and the hope and the yearning of the Jewish people for the Geula, for the redemption, that they should be available for Torah study and its wisdom. Because, and we will not have any type of creditors coming after us. Now we're bothered. What are we bothered? We're bothered with, once a day you go to the mailbox, you open up the mail, or today you might even have it automated, and you open up your bank statement, or you look at your bills in your email, and suddenly you see insurance needs to be paid, electricity needs to be paid, the tuition bill is coming in, the mortgage is being taken, I took a gulp out of my earnings. So that's called creditors. We're constantly feeling the bite. This one is coming after me, that one is coming after me. I have doctor bills, medical bills that I didn't pay. Whatever it is, that's called noiges. People are coming after. We're not going to have any of those creditors coming after us, or anybody trying to stop us, any distractions from anything else. And therefore, what are we going to be? We're going to be completely unoccupied and available to study Torah. So that we should, and what's the point? We'll be able to learn Torah, and that's going to give us the stepping stone, or the entrance into the world to come. So this is, by the way, this one line of Rambam goes according to the Rambam's opinion that the days of Mashiach and the resurrection of the dead is not the final goal. According to Maimonides, after the days of Mashiach, we will still leave this world to go to a more spiritual existence called Olam Haba. That's Maimonides' opinion. That's not the opinion of Chasidus. It's not the opinion also of Nachmanides. The more Kabbalistic, esoteric view is that life on earth is going to continue forever, and the final goal and final destination and the highest experience of God is going to be while our souls are within our bodies. But that's just a side note. The main idea that Rambam just said is the reason for our aspirations for Mashiach is when Mashiach will come, we will be unoccupied, we will not have any distractions, and therefore we're going to be able to have all the time in the world to do one thing and one thing only, available to study Torah and to pursue knowledge. Then the Rambam continues and he says, and this is the final halach, okay? And here's where I want everybody to pay a lot of attention, because here we're going to actually do a little nitty-gritty picking, okay? And at that time, Maimonides says that in the time of Mashiach, there won't be any more of a famine. There will never be lacking of food on the planet. And he's speaking about the entire world. At that time, there won't be any famine. And there won't be a war. Wars will be, a forgotten memory, a distant memory, something that has been only in the past. No more war. There won't be any jealousy or envy, the tacharus or competition. Okay, so we're dealing with a world that doesn't have any famine. There aren't any hungry people. There is no conflict. A world without conflict, without any bloodshed, without a war, without envy, and without competition. Because competition is only when there is, and we'll see in a moment, competition is usually only when there is limited resources. So there's a competition of who's going to get it. And the Rambam explains, why will these things not exist? Why won't we have any more these four things that have plagued humanity from the very onset of time? So the Rambam says, Shahatoiva mushpas harbe, because there will be so much goodness in the world, and all delicacies are going to be available like earth. Rambam says two things are going to happen. There's going to be so much goodness in the world, and all delights, all physical delights are going to be as available like dust. So these are two things that are going to happen. And therefore, how is this going to change mankind? It's going to change mankind that one's occupation is going to change. The occupation of humanity is going to be only to know God. And as a result of that, since all of humanity is going to be preoccupied only with knowing Hashem, and there won't be any distractions, not from war, not from hunger, and not even, as we're going to see in a moment, the need to go out to work, to pay your bills. All that will be gone. So therefore, what is going to happen? Since we're going to be occupied in knowing Hashem, Ulefikach yiyu chachamim gedolim. And the Fikach Yiyu Yisrael, the Rebbe's gear says, the Fikach Yiyu Yisrael chachamim gedolim. Therefore, the Jewish people, the Jewish nation, are going to be very, very wise. Very wise. Not just wise. Gedolim, great wise. It means all, across the board. All the Jewish people. Now we have rabbis, great scholars. All Jews are going to be fantastic scholars. The Yoidim Dvarim Astumim, and we're going to know the hidden things. Hamukim, the deep hidden mysteries are going to be known to mankind. The Asigu Das Boiram, and he adds more. We're going to apprehend the mind of our Creator. Kefi Koyach Adam, in accordance to man's abilities. Shanemar, as it says in the Pasuk, Kimala Haaretz Deyas Hashem, that the earth, the entire planet, will be filled with knowledge of God. Kemayim Layam Machasim, like the water covers the seabed. Like the entire ocean is covered, the water covers it, fills it, and covers it completely. So too, the knowledge of Hashem will spread and fill the entire planet, covering it completely. And with this, the Rambam concludes his book. So now just a few nuances that I would like to look into, so that based on when we explore and understand the deeper element of these nuances, then we will get a better understanding of what this amazing time that we're entering already now in, which I believe that the period that we're in now, where Hashem has suspended life, the old kind of world that we've been used to has come to an end, and now we're moving into a whole new state of existence. Let's see what that is all about by probing a little deeper into this halacha. Again, this is based on the Rebbe's understanding of this halacha of Rambam, and he presents a couple of questions. The Rambam says that in that time there won't be hunger, war, jealousy, or competition. And he says, why? He says because there will be goodness, because the taiva, the good, will be plenty. Mishpas harbe, there will be plenty of everything. And he says something else. And all the lights will be as available as dirt. That means simply we understand it to mean, how plenty will things be? Well, just like there's no shortage of dirt, there is no shortage of all the lights. The Rebbe asking, what does the Rambam mean in his? Is this only a continuation, or is this adding something else? Rambam says two things. The good will be mishpas harbe, will be available a lot, and the lights will be available like dirt. Is that just being a little bit elaborate on his description, or does he mean to add something when he says that madanim mitzuyim ka'ofer? Is it just more of an explanation of what he just said, that there was going to be plenty? How much? Like dirt? Or maybe there is something deeper over here. So the Rebbe says yes. Actually, the Rambam is addressing what he said in his first line. The Rambam said at that time, the Rambam is explaining why we are going to be unoccupied. Why we are going to be completely free, undisturbed, because the world is going to be in a state where there aren't going to be distractions. So what are the distractions that are going to be eliminated? Hunger, war, jealousy, and competition. That's going to be removed. Okay. Now the Rambam wants to explain, Maimonides wants to explain, why are these things going to be taken? Why won't there be hunger and war? For that, the Rambam says, okay, there's two things over here. There's hunger and war, and there is jealousy and competition. Hunger and war is more of a condition, an outward reality. There's war. It's a circumstance. I know people do it, but it's more of a state of existence outside of the person. Envy and competition is a more inward thing. So we look at them as two categories. So these two things will be eliminated. Why will it be eliminated? So we say as follows. Since the goodness, since the material blessings are going to be available in abundance, the words of the Rambam, mushpas harbe, there's going to be so much of it, there is no reason, so there's no hunger anymore. No one is hungry because it's available across the planet. Seems to be that it'll be not just available in some places, like we have a certain discrepancy, like today's days, people are always talking about the discrepancy that there's only a small percentage of humanity that has the fortune, that it owns most of what exists, and then the rest, 90% of, or 95% of people, or 98% of people have such a small percentage. There's going to be an abundance of wealth that is going to be across the planet. Okay, but Rambam says, so that's why there's no hunger. There's also no war, because why is there war? War is always for resources. People go to war. Why have we always had wars throughout all of history? So all war was based as I wanted the oil fields, okay, or we wanted water resources, or people wanted, or they wanted other things, gold and silver or whatever. There was always something that you wanted to take away from someone else because someone else had something and you didn't have it. Or even when you were fighting a war for strategic land, you needed, that too was because you need to protect your resources. So there was always this worry that the resources are limited. And because the resources are limited, I need to make sure I have enough. And if you're having it, you're taking away from what I should have. And that was the whole conflict throughout all of time. But when there is absolutely enough and plenty for everybody, so there's no reason, the need for war and for bloodshed is inherently removed. Good. But that does not exclude that there might still be envy in the hearts of man. Not that we will go to war, and there might still be competition. What might be the competition? I might be thinking that the grass is greener on the other side. That perhaps you guys in Johannesburg have certain things that we don't have over here in Los Angeles. And therefore, I have some kind of an envy of what kind of pleasure or what kind of thing. Now, I'm not going to go to war for that. I'm not going to go to war because I don't even know what it is. It's just that there's always that thought that people are always that way. Do I really have it, or are others living better than me? I don't even know what they have, but they're living better than me. So therefore, Rambam says, no, we won't have that either. The reason why we won't have that either, Rambam says, because the attitude of mankind will change. When he says all the delights will be available like dust, he doesn't just mean it will be plenty like the earth. It means that people will look at the material delights that there are in the world, whatever that is, that's food or drink or money or wealth or jewelry and stuff. These things, their value will decrease. Their value will become it's not that we won't have them. Perhaps because they will be so available and everybody will have access to them, it won't be this commodity anymore. It won't be this uniqueness. And therefore, its value will shrink. It will become like earth. Now, is that a good thing? Why would you want all value to decrease? Obviously, it's not because we will not value things. We will cherish and we will value other things, higher things. We'll see in a moment. We will cherish knowledge. We will cherish wisdom. We will cherish a relationship with God. Spirituality will become very, very, very valuable. And therefore, other things will lose value. And if that's the case, in the concern of worry that that anybody has something that I don't have, that concern that someone has something that I don't have, that's gone, because there's no one wants anything. There's no appetite. There's no drive to the material stuff of the world, because they're considered like dust, like dirt. The excitement, and that doesn't mean, God forbid, that we become dull people. We become very, very enriched people, but the enrichment is of something of higher value. In a sense, and a couple of years ago, someone was telling me this, and they did actually a study that millennials, I think, or I don't know if millennials, whatever, the younger generation, they're not so into having. They'd rather have an experience than have a possession. So someone was telling me in the jewelry business that he's having he's someone who collects who's whatever, sells jewelry, and he told me that it's becoming tougher and tougher and tougher. He says because young people, they'd rather get, a bride would rather get her, her groom, or or on a hunt to take her around the world, to take her somewhere exotic and so on like that. They'd rather have an experience than have a possession, than hold on to an object. So you see that there's a certain transitioning of the decreasement of 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 the value of just having stuff. That becomes less valuable. And an experience, you might say that people are becoming maybe more shallow, you might argue, and say that, they want just an instant gratification, and therefore the experience, which only lasts for a short moment, is more important to them, something that you can hold on to. Like, your grandmother wanted a diamond ring, and she can hold that forever, and as opposed to just having a few months. But maybe this has to do with a certain deepening of humanity, because who says an experience has to be only temporarily? An experience, first of all, today with the fact that you can take pictures and so on and so forth, you can make memories last. And in addition to that, you can hold on to that memory and hold on to that experience if it's truly a meaningful experience. If you had that experience and it wasn't just the niceness of it, it was the depth of it, the appreciation, the deeper appreciation of the beauty of what you're experiencing, of the love that you're having, or something like that, that's very deep on an emotional level, on an inner level, and you keep it with you. So that's a richer, more inner experience than just the actual material, physical object that used to be more valuable. So Rambam is talking about a certain state where the value of things will become like dirt, and therefore no need for war, no more competition. In other words, humanity will relax its obsession with wealth. It will be available. We won't be lacking anything, but the obsession with wealth will slowly disappear. And then a complete other obsession will take over. So what's that other obsession that will take over? So Rambam says like this. He continues. He says, we will not be occupied with anything else but to know God. And I'm gonna do this a little faster, because I don't have the time on me. How much? This is an hour class. Where are we holding? Does anybody know? Show me. We have 20 minutes. I'm just trying to get a sense of the time. What? It's an hour. The whole
15,
class.
20 minutes.
20 minutes. Okay, good. I just want to gauge myself. So the Rambam says we will not have any other occupation but the occupation of knowing God. And here's the question. If we're saying that that all physical pursuit, all the, I mean, if you think about that, that's huge. That should become, that mankind drops its involvement, its pursuit of the material, and we leave go of that completely, and we're turning to what? To also what else are we going to be involved with? Obviously, with something spiritual. Everything in the material world, which we've been given meaning. And by the way, the lights, as I mentioned earlier, doesn't only mean amassing wealth. It also means the stuff that we can buy with the wealth. In other words, we will become appreciative of a higher reality, of more sublime levels of reality and existence, which deserve our attention more than all the pleasure and the light that the material world can offer. So that causes, of course, money, but it also means the obsession of people are obsessed with sports, with other forms of entertainment. They're all deriving pleasure from certain experiences of the material existence. Mankind's consciousness will rise to a higher state. Therefore, the words that should have continued in Maimonides is, the Rambam should have said the next words in the positive. These words, V'yeh esek kol ha'olam, lodas es Hashem, lodas es Hashem. And the objective and the occupation and the pursuit of all of mankind will be to know God. Rambam doesn't say that. He says, man will not be involved or engaged in anything else but to know God. So why is Rambam choosing to say it in a negative form? What we will not be doing but this. Why doesn't he just say it in a very direct way? We will be pursuing the knowledge of Hashem. Over here, the Rebbe therefore learns something really, really special. He says that Rambam is trying to exclude something else. That means, in addition to the dropping of all of our material obsessions, there is another form of occupation, which is not considered physical. It's not considered an earthy occupation. And therefore, it perhaps would be considered a form of occupation that's considered being occupied legitimately in serving Hashem. We're talking about an occupation that is considered serving God. Therefore, it's not included in what we said earlier, that we're going to drop our pursuits for the lights of this world. It's not about our personal physical pleasure. It's a pursuit that is considered serving God, and therefore it's a complete legitimate pursuit. Not only legitimate, but something that we ought to be doing until Mashiach comes. And Rambam is saying that in the days of Mashiach, we will not be occupied even with that finer pursuit, because our only pursuit is going to be the knowledge of Hashem. So what does he mean by that? So the idea is as follows. Today's days, our relationship with Torah study varies from person to person. Meaning to say, on an obligation level, every Jew is obligated to study Torah, and Torah study obligation is a constant. It's one of the mitzvahs that's constant. You're obligated to study Torah every moment that you're able to. Torah study needs to be continuously. However, we're humans, and we're living in a world where we need to take care of ourselves and our families. So we need to go out and make a living, and so on and so forth. So therefore, this obligation shrinks. It gets limited, and it depends on what type of person. If you are a business person, like most people, whose lives are devoted to earning a living, and earning a living could occupy a person's most of their free time, so then your obligation to study Torah is still a short time in the morning and a short time in the evening. The sages say that's the minimum. Every person has to set aside to study one chapter in the morning, one chapter in the evening. With that, you fulfill your obligation. Then after that, it goes only higher and higher. If a person can limit their work and manage to make a living with less time, all the other free time should be, if we were to be following the halacha, should be in studying Torah. So there are people who spend more than just 20 minutes in the morning studying, 50 minutes in the evening studying. They'll give every morning an hour. They'll go to a shir, or in the evening, go to a study group for an hour. And you can make it 2 hours. You can make it 3 hours. It depends every person. But still, these are people that are primarily involved in their business. Then there's a different type of a character. Halachic criteria of a human being. This person is called someone who's Torasai Umnasai. His Torah is his occupation. And these are like only very great rabbis who are considered halachically on that level. That means that their occupation is Torah. That's it. That's what they're occupied with. Their occupation is a full-fledged, 24/7, a complete Torah Jew whose entire occupation is Torah study. Halachically, people like that have limited. It would play a difference. It makes a difference when we're talking by whether your obligation to daven. The obligation for a person who's Torasei Nasai into davening could be different than a regular person. Yet Rambam says that even a person whose life is completely devoted only to Torah, Rambam says in Hilchis Talmud Torah, in the laws of Torah study, Rambam does not approve of a person doing that exclusively and not working even a little bit for a living. Rambam says clearly that if a person thinks that he's going to learn Torah and he's not going to do any work and let other people take care of him, Rambam really doesn't like that. I'm saying not everybody accepts the view of Rambam on this. Shulchan Aruch discusses this at great length. If rabbis are allowed to receive a stipend so that they don't have to be involved with anything else, they can get a paycheck and they can study. Ramah, we paskin like the Ramah, says that a person is allowed to do that. It's in order that they shouldn't have to go out and work, and then they will be a little bit less respected, and so on and so forth. I'm not getting into the whole halachic discussion, but Rambam is of the opinion is that even those who study Torah day and night should have for themselves some form of a livelihood, like Rambam himself. Rambam was a physician, so he had a way of making a living other than having to rely on other people. According to that, it is clear that even someone who's today's days completely occupied with Torah, we can't say complete occupation. His mind is not totally free. There is another occupation. He's busy with, there's another concern. It might only be a half an hour a day, an hour a day, but there's another occupation. I have the concern, I have to take care. So it's not, and so we're dealing not only with the question of an hour a day, we're dealing with a free, liberated mind. Is his mind completely free, or is the mind has something else? Now, that kind of a work is not considered, when a person takes an hour or two and he studies Torah all day long, and he takes an hour or two and he's just working bare minimum so he can keep his body alive, him and his family, and so that he can have be healthy, and so on and so forth. That's not called stopping to serve God. This is a asek. This is a kosher asek, not just kosher. It's what the Torah wants of him, and therefore Rambam in Hilchos Deos, in the laws of Deos and Rambam says a person like this is serving Hashem all the time. Afilu b'shasha noisin v'noisin, even when he's busy with his business. And no, so the Rambam sees clearly that this is considered serving God. It's not considered doing business, because you're doing the business solely, only in as much as you need to take care of yourself to live a normal life, and then you can go ahead and the rest of the time study Torah. So this is a valid asek, and it's not considered a pursuit of the physical delights. It's considered a asek of serving Hashem, a business and occupation of serving God. That's what the Rambam is saying. The days of Moshiach are going to be so special. The world, the circumstances in the world are going to change, where Hashem is going to set the stage that in the days of Moshiach, even that little bit of work, that even the person who's the most occupied with Torah was required to do, will not be there anymore. And this time it's not only going to be for the great rabbis, it's going to be for every single person, all definitely for the Jewish people, that there will not be a need for any bit of occupation, even a little bit. So basically the mind is completely free. There is nothing else to do. You have a complete empty mind. You have a clean agenda. You open up your calendar in the morning, there's nothing to take care of. There's just your first class, your second class, your third class, your fourth class. You're just learning all day long. There is just a pursuit of knowledge. That's what it means. You're not going to have any other asek, anything else, Hashem, only to know Hashem. And then Rambam adds another word, bilvad, alone, exclusively. In that one word, the Rebbe sees so much depth. Now the Rambam is coming to exclude something even more. There might be that you're not completely filled only with one thing. I want to know God. I want to know God. God becomes your obsession. Knowing Hashem means knowing His Torah. There might be something else. Why? As a Jew, you're obligated to know how to conduct yourself. We have 613 commandments that splinter into thousands and thousands, I would say hundreds of thousands, tens of thousands at least, of halacha, means of conduct, which are things that a Jew needs to know in order to be able to live a life as a Jew. Now, how do you know? This is so great. How do you know how to live your life as a Jew? How do you know how to put on your tzitzis or your talis in the morning? How do you know how to wash your hands and the tilas yadayim the right way? How do you know how to do anything Jewish? How do you know how to keep Shabbos? The halachas. So for that, one has to study. One needs to study halacha. One needs to study halacha. And when you study halacha, you know how to conduct yourself as a Jew. Now that's a certain pressure. What's a pressure? I need to learn Torah so that I know how to conduct myself. That kind of a learning is not the learning that we're talking about. We're talking about learning because you're just obsessed with God and you want to know God. And therefore you just want to know everything about him. So you want to know just more Torah, the way God thinks. You want to probe it deeper and deeper and deeper. Not for the sake of me, oh, Pesach is coming soon. I need to know, what do I do with my chametz? Or how do I make a seder? That's already considered external. That's not the real manner of learning Torah. The real manner of learning Torah is to learn Torah just for the sake of learning Torah. Not even the manner of learning Torah to know how to conduct yourself. Even that, Maimonides is excluding. That's the depth over here. Even that is being excluded. Study of Torah just for the sake of being intimate with God, of knowing everything about Hashem. And imagine when mankind reaches that realization and it becomes an obsession. An obsession. Now, usually we say obsessions aren't good. Any obsession isn't good. This is the only legitimate obsession. An obsession. You ever see great rabbis? I'm talking about like the real big scholars. Like, I don't know, you had Reb Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, you had Reb Moshe Feinstein, you had people like that who's like, of course, the Rebbe, you had people like, their entire life is just Torah. And it's not like an unhealthy addiction, an unhealthy obsession. It's the most joyful and exciting obsession, and it's something that was. Do you think people like that ever were bored? There's no boredom because when you study Torah, Torah opens up. You study one subject, and then that leads you into another subject, which leads you into, and you can study it and go into it deeper, probe it deeper. And again, once you amass information from different parts of Torah, the Torah starts becoming an endless maze and an endless, intriguing puzzle in which you want to go deeper and deeper, and it pulls you in. And the further you get into it, the more you get sucked into it. You can't get out of it. It's endless. It's stimulating, especially when you appreciate the divine element, the godly element of it. The interest, the excitement, literally becomes obsessive. And Rambam says that obsession is the ultimate obsession that man should be busy with. So, but here's the idea: how will we then know the halacha? I mean, after all, I don't know every halacha. I don't know how to conduct myself exactly according to law. Many times I have a question. I have to call the rabbi. I have to call someone who knows more than me. So how is it that we will? So the Rebbe says an interesting thing. He says when Mashiach will come, we will have a chance to study all of halacha one time. And that's why it's a good thing to start doing that now, so you don't get wasted time then. Get to yourself. You learn the entire, and being that it will be a time that we will not forget anymore, because the spirit of impurity is going to leave the world, so we will not forget anymore. So you study it once, you know halacha one time, and it's done. You don't have to study Torah anymore in order to know the conduct of how to conduct yourself. You can study Torah just for the sake of knowing Hashem. That's how the Rambam describes will become the obsession of the Jewish people. And what will be the obsession of the rest of mankind? Now, let me stop for a second. How do you think that's going to happen practically? So first of all, we're seeing something interesting now. Now that the virus came along, and again, I'm not negating the idea that this virus is horrible and we have to plead with God to end this, and the suffering that it has brought is indescribable. And all I am pointing out is that we have to see the gamzul l'tova, we have to see the silver lining, we have to see the pnimius of even something that at least has a very painful external part to it, but there must be something very deep that's going on over here. So is as follows. Number one, I don't know what's going on in South Africa, but over here in in the United States, I'm expecting any day to get my stimulus check. It's not going to last me too long, but $2,400 per couple, I think, and then for the kids, some extra. That means that Uncle Sam, the government, is already writing checks, which seems to be part of the great wealth that the Jewish people are going to have after Mashiach comes. Is it seems like, again, this I didn't see in the Sikha, that because mankind will appreciate the Jewish contribution to such a degree, it will become, and since Ki Mitzion Teitzei Torah, Udvar Hashem Yerushalayim, enlightenment and knowledge of God will be coming from the Jewish people to the rest of the world. The rest of the world will see it as a privilege and an honor to assist the Jewish people in the pursuit of Torah and knowledge, so we can share that knowledge with the rest of the world. So that could be part of it. We're also already seeing, even naturally, without any kind of changes, we're seeing that people today have reached, in terms of their businesses, types of businesses. You have so many wealthy Jews today that hardly have to go into their offices. Delegation and automation has completely, and we can understand that in any day, give it 10 years, give it 15 years. I don't believe that we're waiting so long for Mashiach. Mashiach is happening momentarily. But, the continued exploration after the days of Mashiach and advance of technology will bring us very quickly to a point where almost everything will be completely automated. And therefore, entire businesses and things will be able to be run with almost I would say, almost to full automation, which means no need for people to put their minds into their businesses. And therefore, people will be able to devote themselves completely to Torah and to knowledge of Hashem. The rest of the world, the Rebbe says, interesting, will also be involved in Torah study, even though it says a non-Jew may not study Torah. The Rebbe says, but that's not regarding their 7 Noahide laws. And in their 7 Noahide laws, they can study it deeper and deeper and deeper, and through that get to know God and open up channels to the divine, which is basically an endless journey. So mankind will become to the point where all of mankind will be preoccupied with knowing of Hashem. So to conclude, I mean, there is still quite a bit that the Rebbe says in terms of the conclusion of this what Rambam means over here, but with a limited amount of time, I think we got through the gist of it. But the conclusion of it is as follows: we are now approaching a time when the world is changing its pursuit, its drive, its occupation. And I believe very strongly the time that we're in right now is a transitioning state, and therefore the most appropriate usage of our time is exactly what we did the last hour, these Zoom meetings, these learnings, because first of all, we have to get our backside used to sitting on a chair. We have to get ourselves accustomed to sitting, like you say, what do you call it? A bank. In Yiddish, there was an expression, kvetch the bank. You have to get used to sitting on a chair and studying. That's going to be the occupation, but it's going to be on the most pleasurable form, in a way that it's going to give us meaning and delight and satisfaction that is way beyond anything we've ever experienced and ever understood and can even imagine. And the time that God has given us now is like, I believe, is a little bit like, when people have a God forbid, a chas v'shalom, a amputation. When a person goes through an amputation and they take off a limb, there's a concept called phantom pain. And phantom pain means that you have residual pain from a leg or an arm that once was hurting you, but was hurting the person, but now that their leg or their arm are not attached to them, they still imagine that pain even though it doesn't exist. So I believe the time that we're given right now is that when Mashiach comes, which is going to happen momentarily. We are not going to be involved anymore with Madana Metsuyim Ka'afar. The world, the lights are going to become as important as dust, which is not important. Our occupation is going to turn completely to Hashem, but perhaps we're going to have this misguided memory of this occupation with making money and so on and so forth. In order to help us through that, we have a period of time right now where Hashem stopped us from involved in all those things. So we can maybe make that change in our heads. Let's change. We don't need to do that anymore. God will provide. We're going to have everything we need. We're seeing it already now. The government is providing. People are getting what they need. I mean, obviously, we're seeing it in a little form. When Mashiach comes, it's going to be in a much greater form. But the government is already giving us. I mean, I'm sure all governments are opening up and helping out their people to be able to make it through these tough times. This is reminiscent of what it says when Mashiach will come. The kings will want to be your nurses, will want to raise you, will want to help you out, take care of your children, and so on and so forth. So these things are already happening. It's important for us to acclimate and to change our way of thinking and appreciate. We ought to get excited about Torah study. Think of yourself as a great scholar. You are already a great scholar. Start now. Start buying books. Increase your libraries. Fill it up. When Mashiach will come, I'm telling you the one thing now that everybody's trying to find masks. There's going to be a shortage of books because immediately everybody's going to want everything. We have it online, but still everybody's going to want to have books. Get books. Fill yourself with whatever. This is where we should be investing. We should all be investing right now in creating better infrastructure, perhaps for Zoom meetings, for things like this, that we have clear, it comes through crisp. We can have teachers from across the world. We should create Mashiach academies, studying of the future. These are the things, because this is what we're going to be doing. And now is the opportunity to do them, because the Eibishter shut down all other business already. Now it's time to move to the real business, which is the business of Eisek Kol Ha'olam Kuloi, the occupation of all of mankind, Elo L'dasas Hashem, which is to know Hashem. May we merit to start and see that already today. Good Yom Tiv, Chag Sameach. Have a great rest of the Yom Tiv, and we'll meet in Yerushalayim Be'ezras Hashem very soon.